Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got in another red dot to take a look at. This is a brand new release from BINOCK and the model is the TD-01. This TD-01 has 3 different reticles, a top loading battery, and is reasonably priced. So stick around if you want to learn about it. We'll do a real quick unboxing, go over all the features and specifications. We'll take a look at the glass and dot and show you how to operate everything. We'll get it mounted to something, get out to the range, put some rounds through it, see how everything holds up, and then give some thoughts on it. So over the last 6 months or so, I've done a few other reviews for BINOCK. I did some of their night vision binoculars, and then I also did a night vision monocular, and both things were really well. I was really impressed with them. But some very nice packaging here. You can scan that for their website. I don't think this TD-01's on there at the time of me recording though. Like, this thing is just coming out. So we're gonna have the dot right up here. Let's get that kind of out of the way. Try to pull the rest of this stuff out. All right. Looks like we got a manual. Battery, I assume. Yep. It's a CR1632. And in here I can see a cleaning cloth. And it looks like a bunch of screws and tools. So there's a cleaning cloth. Couple tools. The little screwdriver part, we'll have to figure out if sometimes those are for the battery, sometimes it's for the windage and elevation. And then I will show you all of these as well, so you kind of know in case your gun will need these certain screw sizes. So you got that one. 632 is pretty common. A couple of mine take that. I'm going to quickly show you the manual. You can always come back to this for reference or pause and read anything that you want. I'm sure I'll leave something out that's in this manual, so you can find it. Give you guys some close-ups here of the dot itself before we start going over everything. They definitely have some uniqueness here to like this shroud. It's got like design cuts in it, and then even up here in the front, some type of little design right there, like a little logo, but that does not go with the BINOCK logo. Again, there's going to be our top load battery. You can see that it's kind of almost like a hex or star type pattern in there. That's what the one tool's for. And then the straight screwdriver will be for these adjustments. It is branded on the side. I really appreciate that. I really like that. One thing I will point out right off the bat is this did not come with any type of cover. You know, if you're putting this on a carry weapon, you don't ever have a cover on it anyways. But some guys who are just putting them in their safes or maybe in the vehicle or something like that do like to keep a cover on there. Grab you guys some quick dimensions and a weight before we start going over everything. We're at 1.8 inches in length, just over 1 inch in width, and just over 1 inch in height. And this little guy weighs 1.4 ounces. So it is made out of some type of aluminum. It does have probably like a type 3 hard anodization on it. That's going to help prevent scratches, rust, corrosion. It's 1200 G's of recoil resistance, so you can even put this on a rifle or a shotgun. It'll handle that just fine, or high caliber pistols. It's IPX7 waterproof and dustproof and like fog-proof rated. So at the beginning, this has 3 reticles. You're going to have just a dot, just a circle, and a circle dot. The dot itself is a 3 MOA. The circle is a 38 MOA. This is going to have 10 brightness settings. I don't see anywhere where it says anything about night vision, so I think they're all going to be visible just with the naked eye. And then this also has like shake awake or motion activated technology. After about 3.5 to 4 minutes of non-use, it will power itself down to save your battery. And then with just the slightest movement at all that it detects, that puts your dot right back on at the same brightness that you're at whenever it's shut off. Going to get the battery installed here next. There is an O-ring kind of around this cap here to kind of help with that waterproofness. Again, that'll just like drop down in there and then just kind of press it in place to where it's flat. And again, this screwdriver is used to adjust your windage and elevation, but you also use this when you need to change out that battery. Just kind of get it in there and then it just pops up. So before I turn the dot on, I just want to show you like the clarity of the glass. There's very little like hue or change of color, maybe just the slightest bluish gray, but it's not much at all. And then on the front side of the lens is that coating that really helps to allow light to come through, which makes things more clear, but it also helps to reduce glare. So even though this has that motion awake technology, you still can manually turn it on and off. And so to turn it on, the up arrow for the brightness, you're just going to press and hold that for a few seconds. And our dot is on now. What I'm going to do is just kind of run through and hit that a bunch of times until I think we got to be at 10. All right, and then we're going to switch over to the down and just kind of go down through them. So that should be 9. I just want to see how visible it is as we go down through. 8. Let me come over here to the side so my fingers aren't in the way. 7. 6. 5. 4. 4 is getting pretty low. 3. I can still see 3. The camera's having a hard time picking that up. 2 and 1 are almost too low for me to see. Might be able to see them at night, so I will check that out. Going to go back up through them. That's back up to 3 or 4 now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My cell phone camera always has a hard time picking up the other reticles, but to get to it, it's just going to be a long press of the up arrow. So we'll try to see what this looks like. Okay, right there is the circle now. Again, a 38 MOA. And now when I do the circle dot, it's probably going to look like just a blob to the camera, but trust me, it's not that. There it went. See how it looks like it almost completely filled it in. When you're looking at it again with the naked eye, it does not look like that. It's pretty crisp. It's too distinct. You can see the circle plain as day, and then you can see the dot plain as day inside of it with space around it. I'm going to get this mounted next. I believe it's a doctor footprint. Again, there's no information in the manual, and since their website doesn't have it listed yet, the rep told me that's what she thought it was, so that's what we're going to go with. And just so YouTube knows, I'm working with a completely safe gun. There's no ammo anywhere around. Chamber's empty. And adding this red dot to this pistol does not modify the pistol in any way. Doesn't make it do anything different than what it was originally manufactured to do. And if you did not want to mount this to a pistol, BINOCK actually sent me this as well. It's a Picatinny mounting plate that this red dot will mount onto it. You put your screws in here, and then this mounts to Picatinny. You can do it to M-LOK even as well. But a lot of guys are running these on rifles as backup sights because, again, they weigh practically nothing. And you can put it like on a 45-degree offset mount. And so like you might have your standard scope, or you might even have another red dot, or maybe you're using flip up sights, iron sights, whatever it might be. And then you can have this over to the side to have a backup sight on your rifle. I don't think these are going to be included though, because it was not inside the box. It was inside of this baggie, inside of the shipping box. So I would not probably expect receiving that, but you'll probably be able to buy them from them, or I know for sure you can get them from Amazon, and they're like $10 or something like that. So I got my plate on here for a Doctor footprint, and immediately, I should have just remembered it from before, but the Doctor has 4 of these lugs, and there's clearly only 2, so it is not a Doctor footprint. So this is my RMR plate, and it goes right down on it, and then I'll get some screws in it. Typically 12 to 15 inch-pounds is what you want to take your screws down to, and you want to use some blue Loctite. So here's what it looks like mounted. I'll get you a height here. I didn't do that earlier. These are just like low sights, like factory sights on this G3C, but you definitely cannot see anything through that rear sight. You can pick up a little bit of the front, but I don't think it's going to be enough to co-witness anything. A height back here is going to be right about 0.39 inches. So I'll get out to the range in the next week or so. In the meantime, I am going to test that shake awake or motion activated technology. Basically, I'm just going to set this down, come back in 3 or 4 minutes or whatever, see if the dot has shut off. I'll bump the gun or I'll pick it up or whatever and make sure that it comes on. And I'll just do that randomly throughout the day, dozens and dozens of times here over the next week or so. One other thing I wanted to check is see if we have any type of feedback from these adjustments. See if there's any clicks, if we can feel it, if it's audible. Let's try this one. Yes, every click is palpable and audible. You know exactly where the click is. It like stops in between every one. Let's check the windage just to make sure it's the same. Yep. Very nice. Alright guys, out at the range this morning with that BINOCK Red Dot. I used that laser bore setter right there to kind of get me somewhat close. Probably only take a few more shots to get completely zeroed in. Probably going to put 50 to 100 rounds total through it. Just make sure there aren't any issues with the dot flickering or shutting off. Make sure that the glass stays intact and that the mounts don't walk loose, you know, the screws. So just stuff like that. I am back from the range and back to working with the safe and clear gun. So first thing I'll say is I did not have any problems whatsoever at the range. The dot stayed on perfectly fine with 9mm recoil. I shot 50 rounds total. The screws did not like walk loose. No problems at all. So let me share some of my thoughts on this BINOCK TD-01. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. I do think it's well built. The glass seems to be pretty clear. There wasn't any type of like fisheye or distortion. The dot itself was really crisp and bright. I felt like it was pretty easy to sight in. Your adjustments are both audible and palpable. You can feel every click. I like that it has the 3 different reticles. You can do just the dot, just the circle, or the circle dot. I like that it has that shake awake or auto awake feature that really helps preserve your battery. I tested that dozens and dozens of times, probably upwards of 70 or 80 times over a couple week period, and I would bend over, look through, it would be off, I'd bump it and it would immediately come on. So I have faith that it does work properly. I like that it has that IPX7 waterproof rating, so if you're in a humid climate or somewhere it rains a lot, somewhere it snows a lot, whatever, this dot should work fine for those climates as well. And finally, I really like that it's got that top load battery. You don't have to take your dot off to change out the battery, so you don't have to sight it back in every time for battery changes. Few things I didn't necessarily care for. First thing, as I mentioned, there's no cover with it. And again, if you are actually conceal carrying this, you don't ever need a cover anyways. But for some people who just like to maybe keep it in a safe, maybe in the lockbox of a car, something like that, you don't want anything getting down there in that emitter to block it, like lint or fuzz or whatever it might be, because then you're not going to have the dot coming out. The other thing is it helps protect the glass if you're storing it, so that nothing else gets bumped into it or whatever. If they were to ever do a redesign for this, I would recommend bringing this housing or the shroud forward more, because as it is, the glass, the lens here is almost completely even with the end of that. So first of all, I would not want to like put this on a bench or a table and rack it, because I mean you can feel the glass kind of hitting right there. So you could definitely damage that. The second thing is that this gets smudged like with carbon buildup. Like I actually just got it on my finger right there just from touching it. So like after about 15 or 20 shots, it actually kind of becomes somewhat difficult to like see through. So I had to wipe it a couple times at the range. And then even that, like even if you rack it with your hand and you go like this, your like finger will leave smudges all over the front of that. So you do have to kind of go over to the side and over the top of it and make sure you're this way. If not, it gets all smudged up. Third thing I didn't care for is that these buttons are super, super tiny. I almost basically hit both of them at the same time. I would like to see this be maybe a little bit more pronounced, maybe even a little bit wider. It's not a huge deal because kind of once you get your brightness set, you don't typically adjust it. Like I tend to go like a kind of lower one, something I can still see in the daylight, but then obviously it's going to be very bright at night. So I usually only go like 4 or 5 on most of my red dots. You might have noticed earlier in the video that I was actually struggling trying to find that down arrow going through the brightness levels, but it's definitely kind of hard to find. Another thing I want to point out, the camera is probably not going to pick this up real well, but on the circle and then also the circle dot, so it kind of looks something like this here. So you have the circle and then you have these like 4 lines that are coming off of the circle. And then you can have the dot or no dot. When I'm looking through this, on the top, I see a little tail kind of like that. And on this right side, I see a little tail coming up like this, just a little bit. I don't see it on these other two. It doesn't affect anything. But when you're at the higher brightness levels, like 8, 9, 10, you definitely notice those tails. And I don't know, it could just be my model, but it's something I want to let you guys know about. And the last 2 things I'll mention is I could not find any warranty information, either on their website, on the Amazon listing, so I have no idea what the warranty is. And then finally, at this time, I think it is only available in red, as far as the color of the dot and circle. So if you prefer green, I don't think it's available yet. I don't know if they're making one, but red's the only one available. So when I got this red dot a few weeks ago, these were not available on Amazon, but they are available now. They're coming in around $130. BINOCK has provided me a discount code, which I'll put up on the screen here, and then I'll also put the Amazon link and that discount code down in the video description for you. It's a 10% off, so that's $13 off. So what, you're at $117 or so. Before I end this video, I did want to mention one last thing on the Picatinny mount. I know I said that it may or may not be included. On some of the Amazon pictures, it shows it, but some of them do not show it like as included parts. I went through the description and I couldn't find anything that said what's actually included in the box or not. But if you are looking to maybe run this on a rifle, it's just an RMR to Picatinny. But alright guys, if you found the video helpful or informative in any way, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And that's going to be it on this one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.